Yeah, so this is just another little series that I'm doing to, express myself. It's called the Bohemian Monk, the Diaries of a Bohemian Monk, and it sort of combines my two lifestyles. So I maybe even want to say gypsy, Bohemian. I guess it's the same thing, a synonym. Um, is where I've come to at almost the age of 36 to being an artist, a poet, a bohemian wanderer, vagabond, gypsy. Um, Basically, just being spontaneous, just going with the flow, where I'm just dropping everything at the drop of a dime, to go where I feel like I need to go, where my heart's being moved to be, and I think that's what like really true art is. And I was watching the documentary "The Artist Is Present" with Marina Abramovic, who's one of the probably the best performance artists in the 20th century. Performance arts really started in the late 20th century, and it was her story, a retrospective at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, of her, I think, 30, 40 years of doing performance pieces, with her ability to get raw, naked, honest, vulnerable with the audience, and to engage the audience, to have a dialogue with the audience, to include them in her experience and her art, to give um, the audience a voice, to express themselves, to be a blank open canvas. And what she did was amazing in 2010. Part of her retrospective, her exhibition, was for 3 months, I believe. I know 3 months, March, April, and May. That for 6 days a week, I think for 12 hours, or as long as the museum was open, maybe it was a little shorter, she would just sit in this room, this open space, in a chair, and just be fully present, to try to be motionless, to try to just be open. For each person, the audience would be able to sit with her up to 15 minutes, just right across from her, and she would stare at them. And she would just look at them. And what was so powerful, I mean, it was just like she became a rock, almost a rock star, in the sense that people were just sleeping overnight, waiting to have 5, 10, 15 minutes in this experience. And I think what she was saying in that is that how people keep running away from connecting with themselves, connecting with others, connecting with life, that we fill ourselves with so much distraction, so much empty chatter, trivial stuff, because we're afraid to look at ourselves and to get intimate with ourselves and connect with another person, because it's so intense, it's so raw, it's so naked, vulnerable, to just sit with yourself and in silence and stillness and meditation. And what she did is brought sort of this being here and now and meditation and openness, and to allow the freedom and well, I'll get to a couple points, the freedom to allow whatever needs to come up to come out. No restrictions, no barriers, no boundaries. And of course, they had to have somewhat security because of her safety. But giving the choice, choiceless, we're giving the choice to engage or not, to have that ability to cross the barrier boundary or not. And that's what she said, as performance art is having the knife in your hand and being able to cut yourself real blood, to live on the razor's edge, to live on the cutting, and giving people, and that's her sort of lifestyle. As her art, the artist and the art became one, that sort of her art became a byproduct of her lifestyle, of her character, and it sort of became the symbiotic relationship. The more courageous, wholehearted, truthful, honest she was in her life, the better her art became more honest, and sort of this vice versa. The more honest, direct, naked, real, vulnerable her art, um, that made her more courageous in her personal life, to take risks, to be bold, to take chances, to live life to the fullest, to integrate all different aspects of herself, this deep, complex, beautiful, spiritual, tough, strong, sensitive person, and I think at what she was showing in the retrospective is her composite of four. She brought all of herself, and that's what art tells you. It demands of you is to bring all of yourself, and that's hard. All of ourselves to life, all of ourselves to relationships, all of ourselves to nature, to God, to our work. And what she did is, in her ability to bring all of herself the best, to hold nothing back, to be as, I don't know, it's unbelievable what she did. This is the beauty of art, is her character, her persona. She was just being, because she embodied it. She embodied the art, the love, the passion, the freedom, the courage, the strength to break barriers, boundaries, new territory, uncharted, to live on that constant evolution of growth of the artist. And what happened is that started to transform people. And that's the goal of sort of a meditation, of yoga, of Tai Chi, is you trust the discipline, trust the art, trust the meditation, that it's going to transform you. That you're not seeking, you're not searching, that God is going to find you. That when you are ready, the divine will find you. So you don't really have to do the work to transform. And so she was just present, and in her stillness, in her love, her warmth, being fully present, transformation started to happen in people. And almost that is sort of what I tried to do in social work. Is the same. She is a monk. She's a highly erotic woman. You know, she's just fully present, just fully aware. And what she was able to do is, I'm getting back to my point, is her transformation, her art was beginning to seep in. People were being able to absorb that. So what the great spiritual teachers are, you shine the light on yourself first. Become free yourself. Become liberated. Fully love yourself so deeply, completely, that there's an overflow. So her love, her just whatever she was bringing, that was just so immense. Okay, what she was because there's, in the great artist, there's such a passion, a depth, an intensity, a seeking, of searching, of growing, of mixing, fusing, breaking, synthesizing, throwing, juggling, just the symphony that she's, all these pieces of how dynamic life is. And in that moment, that the barriers to people's hearts were breaking, because she allows herself to be broken. She allows herself to be free, spontaneous, without judgment, restriction, condemnation. Is she gives, because she's found, because if you are punitive, repressive, restrictive, violent with yourself, judgmental, that is what you're going to bring to people, because you're a narrow, restricted, closed, judgmental person. And anything, any insecurity comes out, you're going to stuff that. Don't talk about sex. Don't talk taboos. Don't do that. Don't talk about that. That's right. That's wrong. This dualistic morality, that if it's out of your framework, so out of your box, you restrict it, because we're afraid of what we don't understand. We push away the things we don't understand. So in her the context, the framework of her, that it's so big. So the space that she brings is so big that everything could just fall into that, because she has gone there herself. And if you haven't, as spiritual, if you haven't gone to the dark, deep places, you can't help other people. You can't give away what you don't have. You will run away from it. You'll hide it. Changing the subject. Every time I go out with people in public, I could push the 2 or 3. So we talk about food. We talk about sports. We talk about culture. If we move in, maybe art or but to talk about our feelings, our desires, our dreams, sexuality, our deepest change the subject. It's too intense. It's too raw. So if you have to be able to comfortable to get with your own emotions. So what she brought to this space is giving people the compassion, the freedom to cry, to laugh, to be vulnerable. So what she's saying in art, with her art, it's not being passive audience. She's saying in her art performance, it's what you get, what you bring to it, what you're gonna get out of it. So you could be closed and blocked and go sit with her. This is stupid. You're fucking dumb. Why you sit with her? Or you could be open, receptive, and that's, I think, the great artists, the great spiritual teachers are saying, is just, it's not about gaining anything. It's not about doing. It's the non-doing. It's the being, the letting go, and allow the divine, allow the universe to work through you, to work the magic, to play the flute inside you, to play the music inside of you. So what I tried to do as a social worker for 10 years, more than 10, 12 years when I did my internships, is because when I was an adolescent, I felt so insecure, so invisible, so lonely, isolated, ignored. I was empty. I was very empty, sad, lonely, depressed, anxious, fearful adolescent, self-conscious, paralyzed, just paralyzed in self-consciousness. Going to the mall, so consumed with myself and how I looked and how terrible I was and how unlovable, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even know it. And I remember one time, I was 15 out. It's sort of strange now that I was alone a lot as a teenager. I was alone in my room watching movies, playing video games, eating, doing drugs or drinking by myself to deal with the loneliness. And sort of now it's sort of the solitude has become my best friend, in the sense the thing that was so troublesome now has been my tool, my catalytic agent for liberation, poetry, and art. But I remember I was 15, I went to a football game by myself, no friends. And I remember sitting on the bus all alone. I remember that, being 15. And when you're 15, you want to be accepted, you want to have friends, you want to be cool, hip, people like you. I remember I was 15 on the bus, coming back from the football game on a Friday night, sitting all by myself. And everybody in the bus, 50 other people, were laughing and having a good time. And I remember how the loneliness was to the bone chilling. And I didn't know what it was at the time. The feeling that I've been struggling with trying to communicate is feeling so alone. It's like Miles Davis playing the trumpet back when he started My Kind of Blue, or when he was struggling with being an African American in the 50s, being discriminated because of the color. It's almost like that loneliness, this deep sorrow and sadness that he had for African Americans, their struggle, their battle to not be accepted for who they are, to be free. And I remember that same sorrow, sadness, loneliness in that bus was just unbearable. It's like, that's what Miles Davis, like Trump, it just, when it's so, it hits to the bone of loneliness, of sorrow, of sadness, of the blues, of being, wanting love and acceptance and freedom, and you're all alone. I guess no matter what, you could have all the friends in the world, but still for the most of your life you're going to be alone, and you have to be able to cope with that and that struggle. And I remember a girl came and talked to me. It was probably one of the most kind things that somebody have ever done to me. When I was this attractive girl, she was popular, and she saw me probably lonely, all by myself. I even start to tear up when I think about it. And all she did was talk to me. What's your name? How are you? you know, for maybe 3-4 minutes. And for that moment, I felt like I mattered. I felt I was important somehow. That I can contribute something, that I wasn't this worthless piece of shit that I felt and I struggled with so long. And and, and in that moment, because when you feel that suffering, to have empathy and compassion for the voiceless, for the ignored. And that's what I've tried to do as a social worker. You know, my heart was just drawn to that because of my own struggles with it. That I could relate, I could understand. Feeling lonely and rejected and abused and ignored and invisible and unwanted, and trying so hard to get people to love and like you. And you spend your whole life trying that, and it's futile, because you have to learn, because if you don't, it's hard for people to love you if you don't love yourself. And so that's what I would do. That's what I started doing as a social worker, is going to the places inside of me that are scary. And that's sort of almost too much of the artist, the poet, the philosopher, to my cross, my poison and my medicine is my whole life is about self-discovery, self-exploration, meditation, yoga, tai chi, all these different philosophies to what is this human experience? How can I explore? How can I create more? How can I get this music, this poetry, this art, this whatever erotica, any type of thing, infuse it to try to blend and synthesize this culture, this food, African American, Indian, it doesn't matter. I just want to continuously collaborate, fuse, bring this melody, this harmony together to make it richer and deeper, sort of like Beethoven in his pain of going deaf, but it made his music deeper and richer because there's a sadness to it. He had a deep loneliness. He never married. Here's this. I'm getting off topic. Here's this one of the greatest composers of all time. I mean, the depth of his range is below people. And he couldn't find a woman that loved him. I think he had an affair with a woman one time, and he had like all these young students who he fell in love with, 19, 20. But here's this great composer, and he was lonely and deaf, in pain, and felt isolated. And that sort of was the fuel for a lot of his music. So getting back as a social worker is understanding that pain and trying to connect. Here's the thing of the art of this. So is what we're all looking for is connection, and it's right here and right now. That's what she's saying, Marina Abramovic. Connect right now. Be open right now. This is what all you need in this moment. It will gift you. Be naked. Be vulnerable. Be spontaneous. Authentic. Direct. So in her own way, she is one of the greatest spiritual teachers. And I think great artists are spiritual teachers. And I think I like a lot of times the artists, the poets, because of they're not separating the spiritual. You know, the monks, they go into the monastery, or the preachers. What the fuck? Preachers and priests and minister, what are you? So what? I could go, you know what I'm saying? I could go get a master's in divinity, go to the seminary and study theology. Who the fuck are you? You know what I'm saying? What do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you could quote all this scripture and minister and on the pulpit and all that shit. But what pain, what suffering, what love, what joy are you bringing? So the artists, Picasso's and the Van Goghs, they risk everything. So it doesn't matter. You could be on a pulpit and risk nothing, dude. And you're just fucking a mechanical. So art and spirituality is risking everything, letting go of everything. Not even, I'm going to renounce the world and I'm going to be celibate and hire, No, fuck that shit. There is no separation from the physical and spiritual, from sexuality is beautiful and eroticism, and it's to be able to synthesize it all. So to not have any separation or distinction, to let go all of your judgments, to totally immerse yourself in the moment. And that's what she was saying. And what happens is then that seeps in the courage, and people are inspired to really, what I have been doing in the social work on the art through thousands of people that I've worked with, thousands, from from hillbillies to fucking millionaires, to black, to white, to Muslim, to Buddhist, to sexy little fucking 20-year-old women at the university who are struggling with relationships, anxiety, depression, to children abused and suicidal and bipolar and the whole nine. Okay? Basically what I'm saying, that is not you. You might be anxious, depressed, that is not you. Disidentify with that. Detach from that. That I just want to see you. I'm giving you the space to come to the table. Who are you? Who are you? What do you want to do with your life? You know what I'm saying? What makes you tick? What makes you passionate? Are you living your truth and speaking your truth? That is the same thing what I did in therapy is what she was doing, but it's in a safer space therapy. And that's why it's pseudo-intimacy, because especially a lot of these young women who are just aching. See, there's that transition from women 16 to 21, 20s. There's still an innocence, a naivety, a vulnerability, a hunger for love. There's just really this wanting to love fully, wanting to fully express herself, to really want a man to love her, to be deep with her. And it's still something, you know, wanting sexuality and expression and things like that. But there's pain. Okay, it's the first love. A lot of these of the breakup and the pain and the heartache. That is beautiful, because you're the beauty, and you're willing to take a risk. You're willing to be vulnerable because you have to be, and that's what I struggle. There is no love without vulnerability. There is no love without being naked. There is no love if you don't give it whatever over time to continually open up. That's all love is to open and giving space to open. So what happens then, as women get older, they become more guarded, the superficial, defensive, security, money, so they sell out. I understand, it's too hard. The love thing's too hard. Let me use my sexuality. Let me play that game. The beauty, the outside, to get what I want, you know, to get security or get the six-figure guy, and I understand that. But I think deep down inside, no matter what you do, run or escape from, there's this deep desire to connect on a real intimate level. So therapy, with a lot of these, as I taught, women would come in that their boyfriends weren't loving them, weren't being even sexual with them, and they started, what's wrong with me? That they were so longing this inner to love, to think they're amazing, they're beautiful. They haven't found that, and so there's beneath the veneer, and women who are living life, okay? Women who are taking chances. Women who are opening up, do their own path, okay? Thinking for themselves. There's a richness, there's a depth to them, okay? And women, because they create, okay? Because they have the gift, and because men don't have it, they're bringing life into that. So the idea is, I believe, that psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, women to give birth to so many creativity, there's so many ideas, there's so much love and intimacy and vulnerability and ideas and dance and poetry and music that wants to come out, that want to share that, but they don't have the space or the safety. It's too much of a risk. And there's such a beauty in that flowering and that in their tenderness and their sensitivity in their heart. And so women who have the mother, sensitive, compassionate, warm, and then the lover, mother and lover. That's what D.H. Lawrence talked about. Women who are mothers and women who are lovers. Okay? And how to fuse those both. How to be a mother, how to be a lover, how to be a free human being. And that's a lot to take, to balance all those things, to love and be kind and nurturing, but also be yourself at the same time and not compromise your love, your dreams, your ambitions. So how women become a mother and a lover and a spiritual being and all that stuff. And that's the synthesis for women. That's Marina Abramovic, the artist, for me, is the mother. There's still sensitivity and compassion and kindness, and then there's strength and character and soul and independence and spirituality, and she is the, I believe, is the modern woman, is what to strive for, to integrate these things that not even a woman, just for a human being, the sacrifices, that the edge of the fasting and sitting, what she was willing is mind-bending, of what her art. You can't, when you're a performance artist, you only have yourself. You're naked. There is no barriers. There's nothing to hold on to. No theatrics and shit like that. Either you do it or you fuck up, or you don't, or you, and that's the edge to live upon. And it was truly amazing, her transformation, her growth, her state of mind. And that's what I have tried to do in my personal life, in my battles, my struggles, and my social work and therapy for so long. It's not, it's like anything, the mechanics of therapy, the theory, but if you haven't, most therapists haven't done their own work, so it's superficial. You know what I'm saying? So you could do cognitive, behavioral, and goal and solution focus. But really, even Carl Rogers says, what is the catalytic agent, the transformation agent, is the connection. Is the ability to communicate, to fully mindful present. Be you. Just be you here. 50 minutes. That's all I'm trying to do, is bring you out. I'm trying to bring out who is really inside of you. That it's nothing me, but it's already there. And that's what liberation, that's the Buddha said. I didn't attain anything. I already had it. I just didn't know I had it. And he laughs because he's done all this shit for like 6 years, almost killing himself, and he sits under a fucking tree finally, and he almost dies, and he gets some rice and fucking honey, and he finally awakens because he was exhausted. He's like, fuck, I'm just tired of fucking meditating and this ascetic practices. What the fuck, man? And he just totally collapsed and had nothing left. And then he wakes up liberated and said, what the fuck? Why did I have to go through this torture, this almost dying to find nirvana? And that's what it almost is like in this path, spiritual or the artist, dude. There is no compromise. You have to go through it. And a lot of art today it's so disconnected. I think a lot of modern art is symbolic to society and culture that is so disconnected from themselves, so superficial, so shallow, so lacking heart and vigor and personality and depth, that a lot of the art that I see, I can't find a connection to the artist of Frida Kahlo, of Vincent van Gogh, of Picasso, Warhol, even, of who they are, their personality and their love and their struggles communicated through their art. And I think to really, it doesn't matter 21st century fucking iPhones and email and text messages, to be a great artist, to be a great therapist, to be a great healer, to be a great teacher, is not even wanting to do all this shit. It's just being who you are, being open, being real, and not compromising, not sacrificing the essence of who you are, and living and speaking your truth. And so in any age, in any era, it's goth and shit, Faust and self-deception, you know, and Herman Hesse struggled with that shit, you know, as he became a recluse, dude. And that's all right, you know, I could do that, right? And you could be a recluse and study fucking Mozart and Beethoven and Picasso, and I'm so fucking deep, and the constellation of the souls and the symphony and the Russian fucking pianist Rachmaninoff, how fucking intense and passionate, you know, all that shit, right? But I'm not living, and I've, you know, to love is to live, man. To love is to live. As part of it, the solitude and the aloneness, but I have to be in the world. I can't escape it. There's no separation. And not be mad at it. Accept it. You know, and I used to be mad at it, you know, but I'm not mad. That's just how it is. And I have to choose how I'm going to engage and not to engage. And that's art. That's what you say. Engage or not engage in life. You have choices. You have your will. What are you going to do? What game are you going to play? How are you going to play your life? And so that's what I did as a therapist, for so just trying just to give people that space to fully express themselves without restriction. That was so fucked up for so long, because parents, dude, I don't want to get into it, man, but parents just fucking have this thinking that they possess their child and can control them, and they can't speak their mind, and you gotta just listen and do what I say and not as I do, and all that fucking hypocritical bullshit, man. All's I say. And then they get so jaded and cynical, because then they fucking realize they're going to be miserable in their job, miserable in their relationships, just like their fucking parents who are stuck and sick. And they give up the magic, and they lose the joy for life and the fulfillment, because everything, why even bother? Just life is fucking shitty, and it sucks, and like school and work just sucks, and marriage will eventually suck, and all this stuff, this nihilistic sort of pathetic view on life, and the view that I'm trying to have, the universe is here to love me and love the universe and all that stuff. So I don't know what else I have to say to wrap this up. Be real, don't compromise. And I think, I don't know what I think. I think a lot of how I want to end this. The courage to be you. I don't know, some fucking platitude bullshit I don't want to say. I guess I said enough. Namaste.